Hey, this is Jon Johnson, the mortgage man, coming at you with another monthly market update. We have myself here, Jon Johnson, of course, Gabriela Cernas-Frantz, Tanya Canarte, and yo, where's Austin? Where he is? Oh, there he is. Austin's got his schoolboy uniform on today. Austin in it. Sorry.
There we go.
There we go. My twin, my hair twin. We start putting on glasses. We're gonna just the full twin experience. I know. This is what I wanted to wear to private school. Maybe if I was in the Northeast, they'll allow me to wear this. But yeah. So good morning. This is our monthly market update. This is where we go over a lot of news and things that are going over in the mortgage and real estate business. So yeah, let's get it going. So the whole purpose of this YouTube page and the only reason why I'm in this business is to be able to help people gain debt-free living through home ownership. So buy a home, refinance to pay off debts, refinance to go to a 15-year mortgage, and then eventually you have no debt, you have a home that's paid off, and then you have financial freedom. All right, so before starting, y'all know the deal. What is something that has been on your mind lately in this industry?
Oh, yeah.
Big one. Who blue? Who's the Green Ranger?
Good call.
Then we answer first.
Tanya, go ahead.
There we go.
What's been on your mind, Tanya?
Why do I go first? I would say I like that the FHA EMI went down.
Yeah, I agree. So FHA, so there's regular insurance that people understand because they have car insurance and whatnot. And is it something happens to your car and then it helps replace and take care of those things. The same thing with your home. You have homeowners insurance, so people know it works similar to that. And then there's private mortgage insurance, so where if you have less than 20% on a loan, there's a way to get it off. But in general, if you have less than 20% on a loan, you have to have this thing called private mortgage insurance on. Every lender has to have it on there. And normally that's about anywhere from 0.4% all the way up top. You can see like 1.5, 1.7, 2% of the loan amount is going to end up being private mortgage insurance. And FHA just decreased their amount of private mortgage insurance almost in half, to where now buyers who are going with FHA, first off, FHA was already cheaper with their mortgage insurance than conventional. For a majority of buyers who are under 700 credit score, which is over half the buyers, especially first-time buyers. But now your average buyer who's getting a home FHA, I mean, they're saving anywhere from $75 to $100 a month just by doing that. That's a big deal, a very big deal.
Yes.
Austin, what's been on your mind, bud?
Not much. Still reeling from that sales plan.
Yeah, so this is the time of the year where businesses do all of their big powwows and all their big group things. And at our company, we had that this year. So Austin, myself, Tanya, Gabriela, we all went there. We all got to get some industry updates on what's happening in mortgage, what's happening in real estate, what's happening. I mean, to be honest with you, things are always changing too with FHA conventional and all of those types of things. And they do a lot of updates for those in the first couple months of the year. So we got told, everything that was happening much recently. Was there anything that sticks out to you right now from that?
The conversation that we had about cash out refis, and how it's versatile, a tool that can be.
Yeah, I agree. Cash out refinance is definitely. I went from being, it's a part of my business and it's something that I care about, especially when it comes to paying off debt. But the whole component of not only just paying off debt, but getting home improvement, you get the saving aspect of it. And then people can do it with less than 650 credit score. People are trying to get solar. And with solar, you need 650 plus the majority of the time to be able to get that financed, where you can get it financed by getting an actual cash out refinance from your own home. You're not only going to get the solar now, but you're going to get to pay off some debt. And you get some savings. It's a win-win for all over the board. There's many ways you can be able to. You got a roof you got to put on, or new AC you got to do. There's a lot of benefits you can get from it. And one of the guys we spoke to, he really laid it out to us. So good, I agree, man. Gabriela, what's been on your mind?
From a real estate, I guess just seeing how realtors are starting to react to the market. I think they're finally starting to, definitely tell their clients, especially if they're listing clients, that hey, we just really need to price the home more competitively in the market, as opposed to pricing it higher than it needed to be, because the sellers were just not coming around to that the market is not the same as it was middle of last year, early last year, and certainly not 2 years ago. Because now even some of the price reductions, they're not as extreme. They're like 5,000 price, 5K reductions. It's a lot more reasonable. So you can start seeing that at least some of the pricing in the homes are starting to make sense, where an offer is going to more than likely be accepted. And also the days on the market are, they're still climbing, but that has to do with the buyers now. So reduction in mortgage insurance is going to be helpful. Down payment assistance programs are now, we're certainly getting a lot more approvals for those in our branch. So it looks like it's leveling a little bit.
Yeah, and we're going to see how much is leveling.
We're gonna
It may be
see.
going-
Last month was interesting, but it seems, at least from the the loans that are coming in, the people, realtors, and we do our Friday calls as well. So we're starting to hear a different type of conversation now.
Yeah, that's why this call is, because it's a lot of feelings.
Oh,
Feelings,
yes.
it's also data. So
Yeah.
we can see what the data is saying. Maybe slightly surprised at where the numbers are headed right now.
Yeah.
But good. I'm gonna say my one thing. I'm very. Well, there's two things I'm very motivated for right now. My one thing, for the year beforehand was definitely like ADUs and putting those, and that's coming together. There's people who want to be able to have investment properties, and rather than going out there and buying 300K, 400K, however much K property, and then you're being over leveraged. I mean, the majority of buyers who are going out there and buying an investment property, they're over leveraged, in my opinion. And if anything ever goes bad or south, they have their money spread out way too far. Especially the down payment requirements when it comes to investment properties. A lot of times those are 15, 20, 25%. But yeah, so that's definitely my one of my main games is getting people to understand that you can be able to get, if you're in a normal residential zoning code, you can be able to get a property, like a tiny home, put in your backyard. And you can get it put on your backyard for less than 100K, especially if you're working with a local contractor. And it's an overall good investment, whether you're trying to use it as an investment property, Airbnb. You have a kid that's 25 at home, you can put him in the bag. You have a 16-year-old that you're highly annoyed with, that you don't want to see anymore. You can put one of those in your backyard, so that they only come inside for food and dinner, and
Not bad.
food and dinner. It's different. It's different. It is different.
Snacks and meals. Snacks and meals.
They keep snacks in it.
But they run out and go in.
They do like rats, So yeah, ADUs, but then definitely that refinance game. The amount of people giving bad advice on refinances right now is astronomical. Cousin-in-law, he was able to get a new roof, savings, and over $1,000 a month with the debt paid off with a refinance last month, because he did not listen to his, friends, cousins, aunties, etc., who are all telling him you got to be crazy to double your interest rate to get a refinance. Well, the items that he's paying off are, much, much more higher interest rate than their actual mortgage rate going up. And they're still saving a ton of monthly payments. They have additional savings. They're not coming out of savings for these certain projects. It's just overall win-win situation. So ADUs in the backyard, and also refinancing is where my head is at. Good. We got to get going. News headlines for rates. Mortgage rates rise for the 5th straight week. That's what CNN is saying. This is all within the last day, too. Investopedia, mortgage rates move up for the 5th week in a row. And for Fox Business, mortgage rates climb for 5th week on job growth and inflation. So we have the CNN saying that mortgage rates are going up. Investopedia is saying that mortgage rates are going up. And Fox is also saying mortgage rates climb as well. Are they correct? You think they're correct?
Is they growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I had a what is it called? The memory pop up in Facebook. Back in 2019, the FHA assistance was at 5.75. Right now, it's at 6.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same as to where it was
Correct.
years ago.
Correct. Yeah, a lot of people are they have no idea of history. And we're not talking about like 10, 20,
It
30
was
years
only
ago.
1 year that the rates went down.
Exactly.
Short-term
Exactly. Short-term memory. Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing. When someone gets that rate, they go out and tell 100 different friends,
Yeah.
oh, I got the 2.75% rate. And they use like a credit card, like, oh, I got, certain credit cards. They use rates the exact same way. I mean, I even had one buyer get a 1.875% rate.
I closed a refi
Yeah.
1.5, 1.2, 1.25
Yeah.
back in, yeah.
Yeah, they had to pay for it. They weren't just getting that type of rate, in my opinion, just by getting the normal average rate. Because when you get rates, there's 15 different rates you normally choose from with the majority of programs. And there's a rate in the middle, and then there's rates where if you go higher to interest rate, you actually get some cash from the lender towards closing, maybe $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And if you go towards a lower rate, then you're actually going to be paying yourself an additional 3, 4, 5, 7K to get that lower rate. So if you're out there, being competitive with other people in your friends and family, et cetera, about rate, just understand that these things are always changing. You're only dating the rate anyways. Every year you could refinance and change that rate again if they keep going lower. So, but yeah. So Tanya's she's feeling decent about it. What do you think, Austin? Are rates going up still?
Ditto to what that I just said.
Gabriela, are they going up?
Yeah.
We're playing guess the rate.
We get the announcements. We know when pricing's being adjusted, and yeah, I mean they're going up. That is that's how economics. The economy has to balance itself. It has to balance itself with interest rates being adjusted, and we know why they were low when they needed to be low, and why they're going up steadily. It's not like we're not seeing like 3-4% jumps. We're seeing just steady increases, and that's when you hear it's going up, you got to put in context like how much is it going up?
People in their mind think, oh my gosh, it must be going
Yeah.
from like 6 to 7 or
Yeah.
like 7 to 8. They have no
Yeah.
idea. These are headlines, and that's why they don't put actual numbers. It could be like 0.05. It could be like 0.1%. I mean, it could be 0.025%. It could be the most astronomical numbers. But if it makes headlines that rates have gone up, and you're going to click on that article,
That's what they want. They need you to click on it so that the algorithm for social media keeps that, and sometimes it is, we want to say fear-based, but it is meant to evoke some type of like strong emotion about if you mess with people's money, you mess with, that part of what they need, their livelihood, and how they're going to be able to pay for bills, etc. Yeah, you're going to get somebody who gets upset that the rates are going up, but in the bigger picture of what the government and the economy has to do to stay competitive on a world scale, this is just a part of it.
cool. Let's see if they actually went up or not. Well, step one, rates historically. That's not historically. Cool. Historically, you guys know what historically is. Even if rate is at 7%, that is still historical average. That is not astronomical. There were times in the 80s where rates were in 15, 16, 17, 18%, and people were still buying houses. And guess what? When the rates went down a few years later to maybe like 10, 11%, they refinanced and they were able to get the lower rate. But guess what? They had the house and they were building equity in the house because they got the home when the rates were so high. As long as the monthly payment works out for you as a buyer, I recommend getting the home. But yeah, rates right now, they have gone up a little bit over the past, month or so. They were looking pretty good for a while. Not great, but they were at least coming down. They were probably averaging around 7% in the last year. They doubled from the beginning of last year to the end of last year. They went down a little bit, maybe like 0.75% over the first couple of months of this year. And now they've gone up probably another 0.5% again. So your average home buyer is probably getting in the mid sixes, high sixes. So if you have a lender that's telling you, 6.75 or even 7.25, it's probably right around the middle for that. And down payment assistance programs are going to be somewhere around there as well too. So overall, rates are climbing up, but they're not jumping up astronomically. We're not like saying, oh, they're going up to 9% or 10% now.
We're not
We're
there.
talking about inches. On a daily basis, it goes up a little bit, down a little bit, up a little bit, down a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. Inflation data is going to really drive that, and we'll see where inflation comes out in the next week or so. FHA lowered the mortgage insurance. I know we spoke about that, but that's a big deal right now. What are you seeing from that, Tanya?
Well, saving about $100 can save a buyer, can give the buyer a good $4,000 or $5,000 more in purchasing power.
Yes.
So
That-
it helps.
That definitely does help. I mean, when it comes to buyers, there's a debt to income ratio. Like credit doesn't determine how high you can go. Your debt in comparison to your income is what determines. And do not use any calculator online. Go to a lender. We can be able to have numbers for you within 24 hours if you come to us to let you know how high you can go. But that debt to income ratio, buyers are never, especially first time buyers, they are never at the lower end of the debt to income ratio. They're always going to be towards the upper middle to the higher end. And then by the time they actually go into contract, many times they don't have too much wiggle room when it comes to being able to you know, to have things not go well for them when it comes to their debt or their income. So when it comes down to it, having an additional $5K in purchasing power, sometimes that's needed. Sometimes the agent will come to us and say, hey, can we go up 5,000? We may need to get a seller credit. And if they're too tight and we can't go up, then it makes it tough for the agent to be able to go higher. But if, you know, with the new FHA, they're able to have a lower mortgage insurance, now they can leverage to have a potentially higher purchase price, which 5K in purchase price is doing nothing to your monthly payment. That's going to probably do what, 10, 15 bucks a month to your monthly payment. Or being able to get an additional 5K in assistance from the seller, that's huge.
Okay.
Yeah. Austin, any feels on FHA with low mortgage insurance?
I mean, yeah, it's great. It was for did something happen with VA as well? Did something happen with VA?
Maybe.
That's a good question.
Austin with the questions, Mr. Inquisitive. While he's doing that, we'll go to any other inquisitive question you have right now.
No.
And that's why he's behind me, by the way, so he can be on his phone all day. This guy. That's why he's got the kid T-shirt on. Not kid with the private school T-shirt on, is because that's what you do when you're in class. You just sit in the corner, you get your phone, and you get desk. And
I will say that, it's interesting that mortgage insurance is going down. There's probably certain factors that determine that, it is a way to help savings for people that are, using down payment assistance and they don't put that 20%. Because at least in the state of Florida, and this is one of those like let's comparison and what's happening here is that your homeowner's insurance has gone up. If you're in the state of Florida, especially if you just moved here recently in the past couple of years, at least in the last year, definitely the homeowners insurance rates have gone up. And insurance is exactly that. It's that company, securing and backing another transaction. So mortgage insurance is essentially backing up that transaction when a buyer isn't putting 20% down. So there must be at least something to consider on the back end where there's more consumer confidence from the government as far as like people buying homes. That's what I'm trying to like grapple, like why make that kind of decision when we're seeing interest rates go up and the mortgage insurance is going down, homeowners insurance is going up. There's always going to be a give and a take. So some things got to give and the other things has to take. So if mortgage insurance is going to help, great. But here in the state of Florida, you have homeowners insurance to worry about. That's an increase in cost. So
yeah, well, I'll say this. When they came out with 0.85% for the mortgage insurance, homes are probably selling around 200, 225, 250K, maybe even less than that, maybe around 150K. Now homes have over double that, and your average home price is 350, 400K.
Yeah.
FHA probably has this big giant pool that they're sitting on that they haven't had to use reserves. So it makes sense, hopefully, now that they're come down and helping the buyer out a little bit when it comes to that.
Exactly. That's exactly, like, I think you just put it in the best way possible. Like those were definitely the thoughts that were going through in the last few days. And this is where we get to articulate it a little bit better, but that is exactly where my train of thought was going.
Yeah. I'll also mention that FHA is not a bad loan. You're going to have people out there tell you this is a good loan, this is a bad loan, etc. When you're working with a good lender who has good transaction coordinators, good processors, they can be able to communicate with underwriters, because there are many lenders who aren't able to communicate with underwriters. I know we're able to do all those things over here. and we have experience closing all of these different types of loans, it really helps out when it comes to saying, oh, is this loan better than that loan or better than that loan? As long as we can close that loan in-house and we're getting an approval in our automated underwriting system, there's probably a 90% plus chance that once you're under contract, we can be able to close that deal. Probably 95% plus chance we can close that deal, just because we have so many resources and tools behind us when it comes to being able to solve these problems. A lot of lenders, they only deal with just conventional. Some deal with FHA, even less deal with down payment assistance, even less deal with like USDA, and even less than that deal with what we call portfolio loans, which are like bank statement loans and things of those natures. We're closing all those every single month.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, if conventional is right here, when it comes to how easy it is to close, FHA is probably like right here when it comes out. And sometimes even in some situations, even a lot easier. I would say many times a lot easier to close than conventional. Conventional just gives you more creativity you can use on it, but we don't need all that creativity. We need to be able to get someone who's got a 650 credit, which is not bad credit, first time home buyer, into a home and it be affordable and to be able to get down payment assistance if need be. And FHA allows you to do all of that at an average credit score. Conventional, you're normally not doing all those things until you get above 680, 700 credit score to where you're getting down payment assistance, approval in the system, and mortgage insurance that works out for you. Because even if you can get approval with conventional at 650 credit score, your mortgage insurance is going to probably be 3 times FHA's if you have and your rate. Everything's going to be higher with conventional, even if you can get approval at 650, 660 credit score. So.
And those are things that those calculators online aren't going to really factor in for you. And how the loan goes, it's all dependent on the buyer. It really is. It's the buyer really holds all the cards, getting documentation in and, credits, number one with credit, income, and then getting their documentation in on time.
Yeah.
Because, delay in documentation can mean the difference between locking in your rate at one interest rate and as opposed to another.
Yeah. I mean, we try to send every loan we can in the beginning to underwriters once we get all their documents. So if buyers come to us, they get pre-approved within 24 to 48 hours. Then we get them to underwriting, and that'll be done within a few weeks to be able to try to get that pre-approved. Now they are almost as good as cash when it comes to buying a home. Good. Credit in the news. So they're saying credit card debt is at an all-time high. That was CNBC, CBS News is saying credit card debt has risen. And some other news source says U.S. credit card debt soars with the average household now carrying a 10K balance. Are you guys feeling that? Like people having higher credit?
Yeah. We're seeing that a little bit in documentation that's coming in. But yeah, like I said, there's when people, didn't have to use their credit because, we were at a time where, there wasn't a lot of consumer spending in the economy. So people were able to save. So there were higher savings, more likely lower credit. Now we're starting to see people getting more comfortable, going out, buying, and they want that lifestyle that they had before. And you also have, newer generations coming into that market as well, that economy where, they're getting out of college, they're buying homes, they're having to, buy furniture, all the things that you need when you start increasing credit lines. We had an issue in the economy with the auto industry. So now people are buying vehicles and they're not buying them cash, they're buying them on credit. So
Car industry is really tough right now.
So
Very tough.
all the markets, whether it's supply, whether it's auto, whether it's consumer daily goods. If you're having to put your groceries on a credit card, you have a high credit balance.
Yeah. I want to go back to the car industry though, because
That's a big one.
people having to put 7, 8, 9, 10 years for a car loan.
Yeah.
We're getting 9, 8, 9, 10% plus interest on these car loans. They're paying $700, $800, $900 a month for a car that just a few years ago they might have been paying $450, $400 a month on. So that's one of my biggest, going back to the refinance deal, that motivates me for refinances is that if you can pay off a car and then just a couple credit cards, now you're at saving over $1,000 a month. But understood, credit. T, credit in the news. What's your vibe right now about people with credit?
Same as Gabriela said, a lot of people are spending more on credit. section.
Yeah, yeah, and it all depends on who you talk to too. You talk to certain people in certain brackets, and then the economy is doing well. You talk to people in other brackets, and they'll say, "Yo, it's not that great of a time right now." So, yeah, this is a weird time of the year, in my opinion. It's better than the holidays where you got to spend all that money on credit. But if your car breaks down, and you don't have any savings saved up, guess where it's going? It's going on a credit card. If your kid needs something at school or whatever else, and you haven't gotten your check yet, guess where it goes? On the credit card. If your kid needs braces or something else medical, maybe great braces not the one, but something else medical, you're going towards the credit card, unfortunately.
But there is a pattern though that I have noticed around this time, tax season, is when credit cards do get paid off.
Yes.
So those people will come and try to buy because they know that they have high credits and they're waiting on their taxes, not only for down payment, but like also to pay off that.
Yeah. My advice is don't do anything until you talk to us.
Right.
Don't pay off a credit card. Don't pay for this. Don't pay for that. Keep all that money. And even before you get the money, come to us and we can try to tell you how to best use that money. Because there's many different ways you can use that money in the mortgage process. And that's if you're trying to buy a home or refinance this year. That's very important. Austin.
Yeah, just tacking on what you said. It's if you currently own a home, how advantageous like refinancing can be if you can knock out some of those debts and reduce your overall housing expenses, or not housing expenses, total expense, just like money going out of the house, essentially. Also, I didn't realize how. Well, I just learned this week that paying off a card, even if it's like a low balance, how much that can boost your purchase. Yeah, it can do like a lot.
Yeah, people think it's boring when we tell them how to increase their credit because we have free credit simulators. When it comes down to it, it's normally just getting a card to a $10 balance. Or if they don't have any credit cards, all they need is that one card with a $300, even if it's secure, but $300 on it, and use it one time a month for gas, paid off the same day. And next thing you know, you go from having either 0 credit score or 500 credit score to having 650 within a few months. So yeah,
and it increased the purchasing price that the buyer that I was working with, like just paying off one small balance card, raised it a couple of $1,000s.
Yep. Yeah, that's part of our game too. When people come to we do a lot of financial management. When people come to us and buy a house, like it's not just a paper pushing business.
I think it's financial education first, because if you can empower someone to know how their finances actually work, it's not just like how much you have in your bank account and how much you owe in debts, but like how that actually works and how you can actually move some things around, pay these other things. And I wanted to back up for a second. So if you own a home, then refinancing should always be a conversation that you should have.
Once a year, in my opinion.
And if
Once a year,
you're
do some
looking
numbers.
to buy a home, it is the same thing. You should at least do a financial check. That are you at a place where you can buy a home? Because just saying, well, I'm going to wait until I have more money in savings, or I'm going to wait until I pay these things down, it doesn't give you a barometer of where you are. And we've said it before, you would be very surprised what you could start off buying, your first starter home, or if you're starting over your next life adventure.
Or if you start playing this ADU game, you got grandma, cousin, whoever else that got some land in the back, how cheap it can be to be able to get an ADU. I mean, it's not as cheap as you think it is, but it's definitely not as expensive as buying a new home. So, I mean, trying to buy a home is rough out there when it comes to purchase price points. You can still get them cheaper now, and it's not astronomically going up like it was before, but they're still going up in general. We'll see those numbers. But being able to put a home in somebody's backyard, as long as you don't got like 4 or 5 kids, as long as it's you, or just you and maybe a significant other, or you and a pet, decent solution in my opinion. Because people got backyards and whatnot, they're not even doing anything with them. They're just there to collect bugs.
Ours is maxed out.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Gabriela has no backyard.
No, we have no backyard because Actually, a mother-in-law suite was an attached mother-in-law suite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was already, it had a separate entrance. And now that our family's kind of grown, we did decide to go ahead and put a door so that we can connect the in-law suite to the main house, because that's where our life is at right now. That's what we need. It was rented at one point after, life, transitions happen. It was rented a couple times. And this has all been in a span of like 15 years.
Sure.
That unit has gone into, it was a home for my grandmother, then it became a home for a renter, became a home for my sister for a couple years, and now it's part of the main house. So
There you go.
it's adapted, and we can always close up that wall and door and rent it out again.
Now it's time for a shed.
Yeah. No, we have a shed, and by the way, that is not nobody should live in that shed. It's just for storage.
That's going to increase your property value.
It
That's
is.
going to be able to, if you want the extra rental income or whatever, those are official. When it comes down to it, no one's stopping you from putting another shed on your yard.
Our neighbor-
And having someone live in that.
Yeah, it's actually her crafting shed. So I remember when she was putting it up, and it's like, oh, I see your building. And by the way, it was a very nice, like, concrete foundation, like very nice solid build. I was like, she's putting a little apartment here. And then she tells me it's a craft. It was a crafting shed. I said, but you could live there. And she's like,
Yeah, I've done a lot of prison work over in Orlando, and like they have these this private airport where people have these planes, and you're technically not supposed to sleep in these little hangars that they have, but these little hangars are like little apartments. Because when it comes down to it, yes, you can have the official home, and we recommend that if you can be able to get it that way. But when it comes down to it, any means necessary rather than paying $2,000 a month in rent, in my opinion. So
like Top Gun 2.
that's what I'm saying. Look at this guy.
inspired housing out there right now, guys.
Tom Cruise in the back.
You didn't hear it from here, but maybe it was inspired.
Austin Cruz.
Put that
What's up?
screen bigger.
Bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I apologize.
Oh, that's okay, because we're getting into the charts and the little numbers, and it's like,
Hold on.
oh boy.
My bad. Correct.
At the bottom, next to the
Yep.
next over one more.
Sure.
Slideshow.
I used to be smart. Not anymore. I'm doing all my brain stuff so my kids they need to progress the generation. Yeah. If I don't gotta play smart, then I don't want to do that. So I'm not smart anymore. Household credit, we were chatting about that. This is over the last 30 years. As you can see, this is household credit as a percentage of disposable income. And for majority of 30 years, this was above 10%. We even got towards 13% of your income. So if you make, 100K a year, then 13% of that was going towards disposable debt, credit cards, things of that nature. Since 2008, that number actually went down. So recessions actually helped that out. When recessions happen, people stop spending as much, and they start saving. And 2008 really kicked off a big push for people not spending as much on credit cards. They were still spending. It didn't jump down from like 13 to 2%, but it did jump down from 13 to 10 or so percent when it comes to how much people were spending from their actual income. Once we got some stimulus checks into 2020, that jumped down from 10% to about 9%. It jumped down again when we got the second stimulus check. But as you can see, unfortunately, it started raising again.
Yeah. And when we're talking about recession, I know we focus on US recession, but there is a global recession happening right now. Even in the UK, whereas the US's recession wasn't at what we were expecting versus what the economists ended up seeing, was because of some of the measures that were put in place. But in other countries, and I'm only going to use UK because I was actually looking at their news, they are currently going through a very difficult recession in their economy, because it's just a different type of government. It's a different type of way that they were managing their economy. Brexit, I don't know if that made a big impact, but those are all big changes that happen in their economy. And this is like the world economy that I'm just trying to like highlight a little bit, that where the US was heading in one direction as economies were kind of looking and projecting, you know, it wasn't, you know, even the inflation was, the numbers were taken back. And that had to do a lot with the employment numbers and unemployment numbers as well. Like how many more jobs were coming into the economy versus how many unemployment claims were increasing. So, you know, I like to kind of like pan out a little bit and look at what is happening elsewhere and what we are currently at. So we are going through, you know, a difficult time as opposed to other countries, but that has a lot to do with even now seeing mortgage insurance going down. So it's a lot that has to be balanced in the economy. And I was looking at the recession years on your previous graph, you know, the 2008 one, that had the largest recession since what was the early 90s.
80s.
80s. Okay. So we're looking at two times within like a 20-year period where there was two recessions in the middle, but the biggest time frame for a recession impact was 2008 to 2010, and then in the 80s as well.
Sure.
And then there's another little tick right there in the in 2020, and you know, by the chart we can't tell where the next one is going to happen, but economists are saying, hey, keep on the lookout. I mean, there's certain factors are starting to line up again.
Yeah. So I'll say this about economics. None of us over here are economists. Yeah, I got an undergrad in economics, but I'm not. I'm not an economist.
I'll talk about it today. Sorry.
Yeah, not even close. So even if I've read, 100 books on bodily health, I'm not a doctor. When it comes down to it, my advice is going to always be some sort of mix together of other people's advice. This is why I only take my advice from one person in the industry, and that's Barry Habib. That's because he is generally pretty good at calling what's happening in the mortgage market, what's happening in the actual stock market, etc. But when it comes down to it, anything you see on the news is not going to be correct about the market. I was listening to Barry today, and he was breaking down on how one report, a jobs report, how on the surface level it's saying, oh, we've increased in jobs. But he broke down how, like, over the last couple of months, they did like a seasonal adjustment saying, oh, in January we need to adjust X amount. And this other thing was an adjustment for like a yearly adjustment. They finagle. That's the thing about numbers. Numbers don't lie, but humans definitely do. And humans can move numbers around to make them look however they want to look. So in America, you really wouldn't even, first off, with data, you wouldn't know if you're in a recession anyways until months later. But in America, you definitely wouldn't know until even more months later, because in my opinion, America is very good at moving those numbers around.
Yes.
All right. Real estate in the news. We have a few different things that people are saying about it. Gabriela's giving us some opinion on it. Markets Insider, this is all within the last day, have stated that housing rebound, top real estate economist sees home prices rising. The Toronto Star, is it time to buy? Will there be bargains? 5 things you need to know about the Toronto spring real estate market. Real Deal, residential real estate continues to struggle. So far we got Market Insider saying that, hey, homes are going up.
Yeah.
We got the Real Deal saying that it's struggling. And the New York Post says Elon Musk bought us out to make a tiny village for his workers.
That is all over the place. That is in 4 articles, you have 4 different points of view, and none of them are in alignment, as opposed to when it was talking about interest rates, when interest rates are going up, interest rates are going up, interest rates are going up. All of those articles said that the interest rates are going up. And this one, it's like you got, and I'm trying not to look at the fact that there's a tiny village being built. Listen, there
are tiny homes for the past couple of years.
There is, about less than 2 years ago, it was in Tampa, and I brought it up maybe at a previous podcast, where there was tiny homes. It's a tiny village, but it was for homeless housing, and it's like a 1-bedroom little apartment type of home, and but it's functional for that individual so that they're not they're not homeless. And I mean, that really was what it was built for. So when I hear Elon Musk is building a tiny village for his employees, I have to grapple with something personally of my opinion, saying if they were paid well, and I'm going to be very cautious, and this is my own opinion, I will own it, that if you paid people well, it's a form of you're providing like type of like corporate housing. And at any point in time, you're not working for him, you don't have a house. So is that really what that is going to inspire, as opposed to owning your own home and not being beholden to your job?
I'll mention this. People think it's cute and nice and fun to be able to say tiny home village. Let's be real. Go drive into a tiny home village and go drive into a decent mobile home park, where there are plenty of decent parks that are like, okay, the streets are nice, the people are nice, they have tons of amenities, etc. Drive into a tiny home village and drive into a mobile home village, guys, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Tiny homes is the cute word that makes people actually like that type of concept right now. But when it comes down to it, mobile home is more cookie cutter. When you go into mobile home village, it looks like this. But guess what? You can get mobile homes that look like your standard stick-built home. You can get mobile homes where they're pieced together like a ranch, so where you have this big giant compound. There's many things you can do with a mobile home, and tiny home villages are the exact same thing as mobile homes, except for this house will be pink, that house will be blue, and they just have a slight more customization to it.
Sorry, if they have an HOA in this community, sorry, it's all going to be very
standard. In tiny home communities, it's a different personality than the people that are just going. I'll tell you this, unfortunately, buying out mobile home communities is becoming a thing, and increasing lot rents on mobile homes is becoming a thing. So I don't mind to do marketing around tiny homes, because the people who are in the mobile home investment space aren't playing in that space. And if that keeps things affordable, then hey, that's important to me.
That is it has to be kept affordable. The essence of it is that it is affordable housing, as opposed to traditional, foundation, single family style homes.
So, Tanya, what's happening in real estate?
I agree with you guys. You just said for you guys. I mean, my realtors are out there looking for buyers.
Good. Appreciate it. Austin, what's happening in real estate, or any questions? Any other random questions?
No, you got me.
Yeah. Stump the Austin?
Yeah.
By the way, I did not find anything with VA. I'm sure there's something come out with VA.
Yeah.
Things come out every couple of weeks with these loans.
VA. It's after the mortgage insurance went down, there was, and I know what you meant. I remember the actual.
Thank you.
They were saying, hey, just keep an eye out. The VA, may have. Traditionally speaking, when something like this happens, that the VA is about to do something as well. So I don't think that announcement has come out yet, but that was said, hey, keep an eye out. Okay. So I said, you're like, what was the VA about? I sat there the whole time thinking about that. You got me stuck on that in my head.
Yeah. There's more layers to this mortgage.
Yeah.
There's layers to this mortgage game. And as your average buyer, average real estate agent, it's gonna be hard to keep track. Like, all of us are in this space. All of us are putting many hours a week into this space. And it's still hard to keep track of every single last thing that's happening or changing. So, boom. This is what's happening in real estate. The fun stuff, the stuff that Tanya wish I gave her before we started. Exactly. She probably gets a lot of anxiety about showing up just because of this. But yeah, active listing count. All you gotta mainly look at is the things that are at the bottom are probably the last 1 or 2 years or COVID years. So the green and gold line, you can almost exclude those.
It's kind of like, so we can't see that part, right?
And then, like Tanya stated, it's gonna be a sharp difference between where we were at pre-COVID, because pre-COVID is looking at normal years, and so there's gonna be a lot of your normal higher lines. And so the active listing count from January to February has actually gone down. And when it comes to how healthy your market is, that's a sign of the market still being healthy, because of homes, or if there's more homes that are on the market. If the demand is not there, then you end up going to a real estate market that is not as strong, and homes stay on the market for longer, prices come down, things of that nature. If there's less homes coming on the market, then most likely the real estate market is going to be doing good, prices are going to be coming up, etc. In our business, though, we're still at an extreme home shortage, though. So, yes, that means that the real estate as a whole is considered still good and strong. But when it comes down to it, we do want more homes for our buyers, and especially for me, more affordable homes for our buyers. And the days on market, this is the most important real estate statistic, in my opinion.
Mm.
This actually tells you right now what type of market you're in. If homes are on the market for less than 5 months, that means we're in a seller's market. That means sellers can control the majority of it. Homes are going to be flying off the shelves a little bit faster. If homes are on the market for more than 6 or 7 months, that means you're more like 2008, where homes are lasting a very long time. And as you can see, the main thing to see from these lines is, where is it trending? Is it trending up or is it trending down? And is it trending like all the other previous years? Because real estate is cyclical, and it is trending down just like all the other years. If days on market went up this for January to February, that would be a cause for concern, in my opinion. But the days on market actually went down a little bit. You'll see that it says year over year positive. All these numbers might show the next couple of slides. If they show positive year over year, this time last year was still a very goofy real estate market, where homes were they were just flying off the shelf. People were paying 40, 50K over homes, and there were 20, 30 people trying to get a home, trying to get even the most basic, shack. So days on market have gone down. That looks normal. Active listing count has gone down a little bit as well. Tanya, what's your vibe?
I have seen some of the contracts that I've been getting that they've been in the market for a while, but not flying off the shelf as much. So, like I said, the last podcast, there's more opportunity for buyers.
So you're seeing different than what I'm showing here. You're seeing that there's homes that have been sitting for a while. Is that correct?
That's what I've seen.
Yeah. I'll say this: in any market, there's always homes that are sitting for a while. Even the most craziest market, there's going to be homes that are sitting for a while, because a seller is just so astronomical in what they want.
Mhm.
Right now is a lot better than last year, in my opinion, too. But as a whole, this is showing that, in my opinion, that they're on the market for a little bit less than they were last month. And real estate data is always a little behind, so that number could be adjusting the other way. But for what I'm showing right now, it looks business as usual. And I like that you're saying different opinions than me, Tanya. That always makes me happy. Warms my soul.
I'm working on a question.
All right, cool. Gabriela, what's your feeling?
Yeah, the days on the market, they're all going up. And like you said, I mean, it's real estate is cyclical. Mortgage follows right alongside of it as well. But days on the market, I mean, it does look like it's projecting a little bit up. But
Speak line right here.
Yeah.
I apologize. So January to February is showing that it went from, who knows, maybe like 75 to about 68. So year over year went up, which I don't like. That is, I wish that I wish that it showed month over month, because month over month is a better deal. Year over year is normally better, but when you compare it to last year, it's not a smooth deal. So if you compare it to the last month, it's going from about 75 days on market on average to about 68
so that's the new line that's coming in.
for this year. Correct.
Okay. So so when you go back to what I said earlier, as far as like pricing of the home does help how long the house stays on the market.
Yes.
Okay. Good. So not too far off in my initial opinion, but at least now there's some data that's coming in to kind of help either.
Yeah. So from last month,
Yeah.
days have gone down a little bit
Yeah.
on the market, and the active listing count has actually also gone down a little bit. Normally, you start seeing that number start going up, as you can see, from March, April, heading into the summertime. So we're going to see how that goes, in my opinion, because we really need more homes on the market.
Yeah. I sent you the slide over from this weekend regarding the builders. I don't know if we're ready to talk about that yet, but that definitely would help, if there was more inventory coming into the market. One of our colleagues in South Florida was saying that, you can't build out, they got to build up. So condo, high-rise living, it's the only way that you can live in South Florida right now. is if you are moving into a high rise, because they don't have much land to build out into.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: just live in the city. If you get some remote work, if you live outside of the city, there's still plenty of places where things are affordable. You may have to drive 30, 45 minutes to see this friend or that friend. But to be able to get that first home, that's most important because now you're paying yourself. And then when you sell that home within 3, 5, whatever, how many years, now you can move closer towards the school, the friends, etc. In my opinion, unless you get maybe build somebody's backyard.
So, if people are starting to move out more, so there's an increase in those areas. I mean, West of Chapel is always my favorite example of, at least this area, the Tampa Bay area, where it was nothing but just pastures and farmland and just nothing out there. And now West of Chapel, I mean, there's wiregrass, there's all these things that are finally catching up to the population that moved out there. There was a demand, then the builders started saying, yeah, let's go ahead and build a shopping mall. Let's build a grocery store. Let's, and that now Wesley Chapel is more like a busier city.
I'll show you guys this because it's good to drive through the state and know the numbers and whatnot. First off, the villages. Did you guys know that the villages has almost a population of 100K?
Yeah.
The villages has a lot of people there, etc. So
that's a little city.
Driving from Orlando, St. Pete, etc., back and forth. I've been, instead of driving I-4, which I'm not a fan of, I've been kind of driving these low roads. Middle of nowhere's all out here. Construction.
Yes.
Construction. Big giant villages for people, homes, etc. There are some cities that you don't even know about right now, especially in Florida, that they will be coming up.
Yeah.
And their population will have decent amount of population, just because there's a lot of people that are expanding out to these places. So, all of your big cities, they're becoming more unaffordable. But if you go into some of these other new places, there's a lot of places that are going to be built up. They're going to have homes, communities, etc. Just like Riverview was a few years ago.
Yes.
Where Riverview, their prices were pennies just 4 or 5 years ago, but now their prices have caught up to kind of these city prices.
Like Brandon, Valrica, Lavine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and these are cities, obviously, and if you're not in the local area, these don't mean necessarily anything, but when we've lived here as long as we have and we've seen the growth that's happening, I like to consider these people, they were the early adopters. They were willing to go out there and say, hey, as you said, I'm going to live out here for a little bit. It's going to be affordable. You sacrifice something for that kind of lifestyle, and then you build up your equity and everything starts building around you and you stay or you move.
You got it. Austin, did you come up with a question?
I mean, I had the one, I think you guys more or less answered it, but it was basically just, what are you telling your pre-approved first-time home buyers if they're having a little bit of difficulty? They're starting to suffer that fatigue when they're looking for a house in a particular area.
Fatigue,
yeah. What are you telling your first-time home buyers as far as when they're like, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and sign my lease again, stay at this rental property or apartment for another year and hope that the prices are more affordable next year.
What are you doing, Tanya?
Heard him.
I'll repeat it because it was like
I got it.
Well, what I would say to people is like it goes back to what the buyer wants and you can have everything on your wish list. You can have, you can have the price that you want. You can have the price that you want for a home that is within the payment that you said you want to make on a monthly basis, but you may sacrifice where necessarily that home is. There are certain factors where people just have to live in that neighborhood or in that zip code or in, especially if you're trying to stay within a certain school district. Okay, those are very specific parameters of your buying experience. You're going to have to probably wait for a home to come up in that area, or your realtor's going to have to go doing some, quote unquote door knocking and see if anybody's looking to sell. But the price may be a little bit higher than what you wanted it to be. So, but then you can also be like, hey, I just need a starter home. I'm willing to commute an hour if necessary. I have flexible work, whatever the case is, then your buying parameters are a little bit more open, because you can look at these areas that are up and coming and buy more home for the price that you are able to pay. So I think when we talk about the buyer mentality, it's like there's a lot of things that they have to, it's a reality check. Can you have it all on your list? The price, the place, and the lifestyle? Or do you want the price and give up a little bit of the lifestyle choices that you want? It all goes back to what the buyer truly wants and is willing to, these are my I have to have these, my non-negotiables, as opposed to like, I'm willing to work around these. Because let's put it in the realtor context. You have buyers who say, I want to live in this area. And then you kind of say, look, I want to show you a home outside of the area that you're looking at. You can get a little bit more if you look outside of it. And all of a sudden now the buyer has an option. And now they're like, you know what? Okay. But then you have buyers who are like, no, I want a pool. I want this. And then they're all over the place. There are realtors who are like, listen, you either want to look for specific things, or you want to just go and look for the best deal out there. And if you're looking for the best deal, then you're going to look in Pinellas and Hillsborough, even outside of those areas. So it goes back to what the buyer truly wants and is willing to say, no, I need these, or I'm willing to negotiate on these.
Yeah. I give them a scripted response.
Yeah.
I just say, hey, there's only one time in the last 50 plus years that home prices have gone down. And that's because people had no equity in their homes. People right now have tons of equity in their homes. They're showing no signs of there being a situation like it was in 2008. So completely understand if you are burnt out. There are many important things that happen in people's lives. Sometimes family members get sick. Sometimes things come up to where, going out there, visiting homes, etc. After they've done it for a couple of months. Here's the reality of it. Some people get pre-approved in that same weekend. They find a home and they get into a home, and it happens that way. Other people,
nice.
They get pre-approved, and it could take them a few months to be able to find a home. And so if things happen in your life, things get tough for you personally or mentally or whatever else happens, get yourself back right when it comes down to it. If you break a lease in the middle of it, you're going to skip your first month's mortgage payment anyways. That ends up being about a net negative for you. So if you end up having to buy out your lease, which is normally about a month, and you end up having to skip your monthly payment, your mortgage, which is about a month, then it ends up becoming out a net zero for you. You're still getting into a home. So that whole lease situation, and a lot of buyers, they'll wait until they get towards the end of their lease and they try to scramble. Don't worry about it. If you were in the market right now to get a home, speak with the lender, and we can be able to give you some numbers for how to buy a home right now, whether you are at the end of your lease, beginning of your lease, middle of your lease, etc.
It's a contract. You just got to know what your terms are. Even if you renew your lease and they said, hey, if you break your lease, it's a 1 month. As you said, it's a 1 month.
It's only 1 month.
Yeah. And so, renewing a lease shouldn't stop you from buying a home. It's just maintaining your current situation while you're looking to change it into something else, something better, ideally. So
thank you, Gabriela. Any other questions?
What was Tanya's? I missed that.
Funny guy.
I jumped ahead.
Funny guy. Funny guy.
Graph looking wonky.
I know. Find the pink line. Find the pink line.
See pink over here.
Got all these people with glasses on. That come, folks.
Well, folks, if you look at the chart from where we're looking at, it's small, but now that you're like, okay, here, let's point out where the pink line is. Now I can look at where the pink line's going.
Glasses. That's the pink.
I'm gonna get a red pointer. Yeah, he's got perfect vision, man.
Who knows? Probably not.
Why are you?
You could be closer. You don't want to try to be cool kid.
There.
Cool kid in the back of the class. Private school cool kid. I don't know if it means that you're a cool kid or not, but the private school kids are normally not as cool as they think they are.
So one's going up and the other one's going down.
So yeah, median list price. So people are listing their homes for more than it was last year, which is we'll see how it goes. Once again, in my opinion, people can do that because there are less homes on the market. And there were, even if we had double the number of homes on the market, we still wouldn't have enough inventory, in my opinion, for what we're trying to do in this business right now. So with less homes in the market, people can keep increasing their prices. There are smart real estate agents that increase it only moderately, and they're able to get competition, because competition is what really drives up home prices. And there are the weird people who put some weird price on there, and they have to keep having these price reductions.
Yeah.
But as you can see on the next slide, the pink is right here for the glasses, folks.
Thank you.
Price reductions have actually gone down from January.
Which indicates that primes are being priced where they need to be. Or
Sure.
more moderate.
I'm not an economist, but sure, whatever you're saying right now.
And it justifies my thought process, but hey, however, price reduce, the number is going down a little bit. So hopefully that has a lot to do with like the seller mentality of like, where they're pricing their home, price however you want. You'll have realtors who say, absolutely, we're going to work on that, but let's look at adjusting it in a few weeks if nothing's moving. And this goes back to working with somebody who knows the real estate industry, has been in it for a good amount of time, and then also with a lender who's able to kind of guide you. And keeping in mind that there's price reductions don't have to occur if there's a consideration for seller credit. So where that can also offset that, as opposed to having a price reduction, you have the advantage of selling and adjusting that so that the buyer can have a little bit more wiggle room with their interests.
You got it. So overall, my general conclusion right now is business as usual. I just showed you guys the most important, in my opinion, real estate stats, and none of them are indicating that it's about to become this crazy housing recession that news and whatnot may try to tell you. Another thing too, this is a very local business. I just gave you national stats. There's also regional stats. There's also state stats. There's city stats. There's actual, they don't have the stats for it a lot of times, but every single neighborhood has something different going on. One neighborhood can be having houses flying off the shelves, and the next neighborhood could have homes sitting on the market. So this is a neighborhood to neighborhood game.
Yeah.
And so when we just told you national data, yeah, that makes sense. But you'll see now that that national data is really pulled by some pretty big markets.
I think you put South Tampa. There was a time when people were just talking about South Tampa real estate and how the homes were, oh my God, they're going up in pricing and they're just selling. And then there were other areas that just were not the same.
Sure.
And that's just in our area.
Sure. All right. So Midwest, Northeast, South, and West. These are the four main regions in the country. We have the active listing count. These year-over-year stats will be kind of goofy. So I'm going to go through this a little bit quicker than I normally would, because we're still comparing things from last year. But as you can see, Midwest listings, they're up from last year, active listing count. But overall, they are still extremely low when it comes to where we need to be at. That's why this year-over-year number is not always the best, because that's going to say, oh, we're up in active listings. As you can see, yeah, we're up from last year, but compared to normal years, we're still way down from normal years. But as you can see, it's not up everywhere. The West is the main place where or not the main place, but the West is 82%, and the South actually has 141% more homes in the market than it did this time last year. And once again, these are compared against a weird year last year. Probably had the lowest amount of inventory ever last year, with more people trying to get into homes. Median list price, that's going up from last year as well. The West, hardly nothing, about 1.4%. The South and Northeast, 6%. Midwest, 11%. So homes are up in value versus this time last year. So, and median days on market, that's going to show homes are going up as well. If you're in the Northeast, it hasn't really gone up that much from last year. If you're in the South or West, it's going up almost probably 25 to 30 days. But once again, days on market, last year, it was about 2 months worth of inventory. So now that we're at 2.5, 3 months worth of inventory, it's still not a bad market. It's still a crazy seller's market, in my opinion. Any feelings on this, peoples? You just throw it out there. Remember,
I'm
Tanya?
good.
You didn't interrupt me one time, Tanya. You're supposed to interrupt me.
I love these charts. I did not have a coffee.
Splash. There you go. All right. February. So we have also, we're in Florida. So it's good to look at Florida data. And Florida data is another business as usual. Median list price versus last year. We have St. Pete's up a little bit, 1.4%, but it's really Miami and Orlando that are 10 and 14% that are leading the market when it comes to listing price being higher. We also have active listing count. Once again, the South is leading the entire nation when it comes to more homes on the market. And, Tampa, 224% more homes than there were last year. But also, we were leading the market last year when it comes to the least amount of homes that we had on the market. So that 224% is kind of deceiving because we had less than 30 days worth of inventory around this time last year. So having 224% more homes, we still have hardly no homes on the market, in my opinion. Any vibes on this?
Builders.
There you go. Gabriela, keep preaching it.
But no, builders really, I mean, listen, if you weren't hearing about a new builder community being popped out, by the Crystal Lagoons, is definitely at least in the areas that, we're in and we're familiar with. I mean, you were wondering, and this was also during a shortage in supplies as well, and builders were cranking out homes left and right. That did put a slight dent and it did increase the price of the homes. However, it wasn't stopping builders. They already had these lands plotted out, ready to go. And so I like to see that happen because that means at least in our area, we had room to build out. But
I don't mind what big time builders are doing. Where they're being less cautious, they're being more cautious about just throwing all these projects out there. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But small time projects like the ADU projects or some of these tiny home communities, the smaller projects that are able to take care of 5 to 10 buyers at a time, and if you have enough builders doing that, making it affordable, that's how the game gets affordable. Because when it comes down to it, builders never have an incentive in these big, large corporations for affordable housing. They have an incentive to, I have this amount of space on a lot. I need to maximize the amount of money I'm going to get for each one of these spaces on these lots, especially with zoning codes. Zoning codes don't make it easy for builders either. They have so many restrictions on, the minimum square foot for a lot. Maybe a builder wants to do a 5,000 square foot lot or a 4,000 square foot lot. Well, in many places, it has to be at least 7,000 square foot, the size of the lot from the build on. And it has to be in the minimum setback, meaning it can't be this much towards the front. It's got to be a little bit back from the back. They really quarantine what builders can be able to do. But that's why I also push ADU, because in many counties, they do allow for you to have one ADU on your property. So anything else on this?
I'm definitely going to bring up that, during our sales weekend, when we had our economist on there, when he was talking about, builders being cautious, exactly what you just said is that, there's once some zoning restrictions are, kind of reevaluated and lifted a little bit, making it more easier for builders to start looking at new communities and projects, then we will see the builders coming back again to build more. So I think they had a really good cycle and a good run in the last year, definitely the last couple of years. But now they're kind of, as you said, they're just watching.
Well, it makes sense because the economy it hasn't been great for at least a few years. A lot of top people have been trying to time the recession. And if people are trying to time the recession, then that means that they can't time the recession. They failed that over the past few years, but it does mean that the market is probably not in as hot of a place as where you want to be at. Good. So some realtor, business as usual, maybe more competitive this spring, in my opinion. We'll see how it goes, but we need some more homes. Mobile home data, you're not getting out of here without hearing about some mobile home data. For the people with glasses. So
if we can see the numbers, we're with you.
In the last 5 years, yes, they have gone up, but every type of property is going up. But these are still some of the most affordable things you can ever find out there. They went up from about $50K for a single wide in 2018 to the beginning of 2022. They got up to about $95K, but they actually came down in price to roughly about $82, $83K towards the end of last year. Then double and single wides are normally going to be around 600 to 1,000 square feet, which is still decent size, especially when you see these newer ones. They make them to where they have a lot of open space. And in the double wides, these can go anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000. I've seen 2,500, and you can even the sky is limitless when you go with double wides, even triple wides, etc. But the average price for double wides went from about 100K 2018 to about 100 and they got up to about 170K beginning of last year, and they dropped down to about 160K the end of last year. So still, existing home prices 400K, new home prices 450 to 500K. Brand new mobile homes that have at least the same sort of security level, foundation level, etc., and many times even better than those existing and new homes. You're getting a single wide for, 80,000 and a double wide for 160,000. Any feels on this?
Oh, you
Austin.
did
No.
Austin. I'm going to bring you the smoothie or donuts or something for Austin next time. He's going to be talking and smacking at the same time. He's going to be in heaven.
I was going to ask about the, I guess the storm ratings or hurricane ratings are on mobile homes, but like double wides. Are they?
So you have mobile homes, or you have modular homes which are built towards the state codes. So if you're in the state of Florida, you're probably going to have higher hurricane ratings than you're going to have in. I'm not going to name a random state because I'm not smart enough for that. I can name a state, but not in the context of their hurricane ratings. I'm not smart in that type of subject.
pretty
Anyone on the coast is going to have higher hurricane ratings, correct?
So, they didn't think they could get one. They did.
Yeah. But that's the great thing. If you're getting a modular product, and modular, they can go all the way down to tiny homes. You can have a 500 square foot or 400 square foot tiny home that is built to the same code as a $2,500 stick-built, site-built home. So that's the most important thing, in my opinion. You're trying to go for the most safety regulations. The ones that are not modular built, that are just normal mobile home built, those are still decent, and they're definitely way better than they were built in the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s. Your grandma, your auntie, whoever who had a mobile home or still has a mobile home, the new ones are much more safe and secure than what those are. And as you can tell, a lot of those are still around too. So even though some of those are not built that well, many of those have actually lasted out through some hurricanes and things of that nature. Gabriela, you've been trying to speak for me.
Well, no, I was just going to say, 1992, when the Andrew hit, the homestead in the South Florida region, there has been a lot of building code regulations and changes on just the housing industry as a whole. So it's not a surprise that when it has come to mobile home manufactured and modular homes, that there has been new building codes for them as well. So even though a manufactured home, mobile home, it is raised and it's above a foundation, the materials are different. And that's because, since 1992, the state of Florida has learned, and builders are being held to a higher, building code standard than they were before. Even, I'm going to mention it only because it's not necessarily manufactured homes, but, even condo dwellings and housing, especially in South Florida, again, there was a tragedy that happened, just over a year ago. Even that's going to get revisited, and there's going to be new building codes for condos and high-rise building as well. Florida is what it is. We're prone to hurricanes. We're prone to different acts of God, storms, and that's why homeowners insurance is going up to offset those costs. But when it comes to the building of it, I'm not surprised that there's just stronger building codes for them, even not just in the materials, but how they're actually laid on the foundation or built on there. The areas that they're being put as well, because there was a lot of mobile home communities that were being wiped out, and all you were seeing is apartment living. I'm specifically talking about Pinellas area, Pinellas County. I saw countless mobile home communities just wiped, gone, and new apartment buildings, single property, single family residents being built. And, not so much in Hillsborough County, but I know in Hillsborough County if you go to Town and Country, 33615, there are still really good manufactured mobile home communities there. And some of them are also 455 plus communities too. So
definitely get out there. You
Gotta
actually
know the
drive,
market.
if
Know
you
the
drive
market.
into these mobile communities to have, I mean, to be honest with you, is mainly how many homes they have. Communities that have 25 homes and less,
Yeah.
if it ever says RV resort or park, it's probably not the one. But if you go to these
Yeah.
ones that are
They're nice
They're
if you're in the RV life and you're moving from commute, but they don't.
in general, if
they-
it says RV,
They're not.
it means it's gonna have a smell when you go in there. But if it has over 100 properties,
Yeah.
and I promise you, you think there's nothing to it. You go into these neighborhoods and there's rows and rows and rows.
Yes.
It's like a Harry Potter maze. When you get in there, you're gonna get lost. Definitely, and you'll be surprised at how nice the people are, how friendly they are, etc. But once again, we're rebranding outside of a mobile home or manufacturer. We're doing tiny home. That's what people like. Tiny home communities. Tanya, anything on this?
No,
Cool.
very interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
What you gonna ride through some at some point in time?
I learned more.
By we, I
in
mean
the
like you watching Gabriela.
process. I really did learn a lot about when we were in the process of buying one. We didn't go through, there was some things that happened at the end. But I learned more about just the different types and the materials and the look and feel. And mind you, I've actually have lived in one. In my previous career, I had clients who lived in them. So I, became very familiar with what they, if you take the stereotype out of it and you actually go and see them even live in them or know people that live in them, it just changes your mind completely.
Yeah, go drive to a mobile home dealer if you have one nearby you, and especially if you're in the West. The West has like future homes. They have spaceships that they're building right now. But drive to a mobile home dealer and they'll be super nice. Refinance scenario, got to throw this in there because once again, this is my part 2 of my big game right now.
I really wanted to say with the refinance scenario that if we look at it as a mortgage consultation, because you already have an existing mortgage and it's that 1 year health checkup on your mortgage, that is exactly what you're doing. And that's what we're trying to like really tell home buyers right now is get a mortgage consultation of what you currently have.
Yeah. I like the verbiage. Sales, always be selling. So this is for a home valued at 200K. Now, of course, 300K, 400K, 500K, its numbers are going to change and most likely going to change to be a better situation for you when it comes to what you can pull out. But let's say at a 200K max loan amount is 160K. If your estimated current loan is 120,000, that means that the amount you can get back at the most would be about 40K. So if you have a roof that you want to pay off, that could be 10K. If you have credit card debt, let's say $500 a month, that costs 10K, and a car debt that costs $500 a month, that costs 10K. These are all very conservative numbers, by the way. Total items paid, 30K. You got a roof, you paid off some debt, and you have an additional 10K in savings out of the scenario. And out of those $500 a month in credit card and $500 a month in car debt, you are now at saving $1,000 a month in monthly payments by having those paid off.
Mm-hmm. And you also created a cushion for savings for those life events, car repairs, the things that, have, that increase your credit because you take out credit, to pay for those things. So it's a very healthy.
It's a triple header.
Yeah.
You get home improvement, items paid off, and you get savings. Austin, what's your vibe on this?
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I wrote it down in my notes. Having this conversation once a year.
Yeah. Unless you have no debt and you have under a 15-year mortgage, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
And I don't know hardly anyone 20s, 30s, even 40s that are in that situation.
And also with the repair roof, just because you put a really wonderful scenario there, reshop your homeowner's insurance. Bringing the life of the roof back to 0 and starting it fresh could save you a significant amount of money on your homeowner's insurance.
You don't have to wait. You could do it throughout the life.
Yeah. Oh, you can just like you reshop your insurance. It's go back to your insurance agent and see, this is if you want to change your financial situation to save not just $1,000, you can save even more than the roof. Just home improvements alone, the roof is going to be a big one.
Agreed. Tanya, any vibes on this?
I actually like that. I saw that you put this on your Instagram, little clip of it. So yeah, it's pretty cool breakdown that you do. I just closed on a refinance for a close family member. So yeah, they pulled out last night. I'm gonna fix their house and stuff.
And I'm telling you, it's tough because anyone, someone's going to be like, "You are crazy." Some Joe Schmo who knows nothing is going to tell them you are crazy.
They were crazy because their house was paid off.
Yeah.
So even though with the 7%, you know, they just pulled out all that cash, and now they're gonna fix their home.
Yeah. What's the point of it? I mean, I believe in having financial security, but if you have a safety issue with your home because it's not being up to date and things of that nature, do what you got to do to get up to date. And the safety is more important. You know, you can pay that off over a couple of years in my opinion. But yeah, I'm pushing these out. I'm trying to push these out at least a few times a week, maybe every single day, just doing some different scenario at 200K home value, 300K home value, 400K home value. Maybe trying to get roof repaired, AC repaired, just different scenarios that people can be able to do and be able to see, because they're not going to understand how powerful it is until they see a scenario that is similar to what they are trying to do. Yeah. And I tell you, everybody has something in their home that is about ready to break or is broken over the last few months. Good. Florida bond program. I'm still a huge fan of down payment assistance programs for buyers. If you don't need it, then I recommend not going with them a lot of times. But if you need, a majority of buyers are going to have for 300K home, and this is with first-time home buyer lending guidelines, and put down the minimum, they're going to have 20K put down for a home. And even if you can get maybe 5K from the seller, that's going to still leave you with 15K. So getting some down payment assistance is going to be very beneficial for a lot of buyers for the first time. And even if the numbers on mortgage rate or other things are not as optimal, you can always refinance a couple of years after being into a better loan. That's the important thing to understand. No matter what loan you have right now, you can always refinance a year later, 2 years later, and then you can refinance again a year later, 2 years later, to keep getting in more optimal situations for you and your family. Anything on this?
I just want to throw in that the Florida bond FHA is like very low rate right now.
Exactly. You're getting lower interest rate right now with a down payment assistance program, which normally the interest rate is about 1% higher than your regular
right now it's actually lower than what's out there.
It's lower than your normal rates. Yeah. You are correct. And I'll tell you this, a lot of lenders don't want to do this. Many will advertise for this and they'll try to like swoop you and get you to go into some other program. Yeah. A lot of people, they may want to do this, but they've only closed maybe one or two of these. Our company, we close many of these every month.
Down pat type of way of doing it with the other lender as well. So, you know, it's not like going to the county. Sometimes people think, oh, I got to go to the county, do the 8-hour class and get that whole approval. That's another type of different assistance.
Yes. Yeah. See,
that takes a little longer.
Approval is going to be in a similar process, where even if you're getting down payment assistance or not getting down payment assistance, and you don't decide on the program right then and there. We're not deciding on that until you're actually under contract. So we have it so streamlined to where your process for getting pre-approved is going to feel the exact same as someone else who is not with the down payment assistance programs. You're not doing some additional course, driving somewhere, showing up somewhere. Once you're in the contract, and many times before, we'll shoot you a little link to a class that is necessary, but people can only have that taken care of within a couple hours during dinner time at home with their family. They're not going anywhere to knock out this, online class. So it's a very simple and easy process. And that means being able to, go from having 15K to close, 20K to close, to only having like 5K, 10K. And if you maybe can get seller credit, get that lowered even more. I mean, back in the day, not even back in the day, just a couple of years ago, with enough seller credit, we were able to get buyers be coming to zero many times. So if real estate agents start getting more confident, because it depends on how confident your real estate agent is when it comes to selling this to an agent. And agents were not confident with that over the last couple of years with the crazy market. But if agents start getting more confident with selling them, sellers, agents start getting used to seeing those coming in again, it can start leading to a better market for these first-time home buyers getting these programs. Many niche products. You guys say niche or niche?
I say niche.
Same.
Niche.
Niche.
Cool.
Yeah. It's one of those you can say it however.
The bougie folks say niche.
Niche.
Niche. Cool. That was
It's like a new itch. There you go. It's
Yeah.
a new itch.
Tanya, you a sprinkles girl? Are you sprinkles?
Sprinkles with that.
You get sprinkles.
Oh yes, chocolate double
done. We're
sponge
done.
cake with sprinkles in it from from Baskin Robbins. It was to be my thing back in New York. I haven't had it here.
So you're not a sprinkles girl. You definitely had it again.
I'm not a sweet girl. I'm a salty. I'm salty. We discussed this already.
So this is
Yes.
time I bring you know,
Donuts.
He's a sweet guy. I'm the salty.
it's not a thing anymore, bro. They're pretty much extinct.
Oh my God.
Drive 45 minutes to process and just get Krispy Kreme.
And you know what? You are not wrong. The closest one, I actually wanted to start with
I
surprise.
typed in my phone Krispy Kreme and
Friday. Yes, yeah, yesterday. I wanted to bring just a box of Krispy Kreme for the office. I said, we haven't done these in a while. And I go to the one that I know is always there. And it's
not there.
no, the one in Florida. Kennedy should be open, but Florida,
Yeah.
sorry, we've gone way off topic.
annoying. They got all these Italian ice type spots. I'm not a cold guy. I'm a hot guy. I want hot and fluffy. That's what I want.
Yeah,
I want a
like
hot
it.
and fluffy. What's up?
I do like it.
Everyone likes. I mean, it's snow cone. You remember the snow cone lines when you were growing up? And they were like 30 minutes just to get a snow cone.
With the block of ice in the car. What do they
Shaved
call
ice.
it?
Ice,
Shaved ice.
shaved ice,
Sweet agua.
ice
is
cold
what they're
water.
called.
And as it relates to the niche products, everybody has their own flavor and
That's exactly what I was getting
No,
at.
there's wrong
Thank you.
answers. Sprinkles are the wrong answer.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. You had to get that out.
Yeah,
They add no flavor. They do nothing.
No flavor.
To,
texture.
Chalky texture.
Listen, but somebody
they are only there.
It's a
It is just a visual. It is only there as a visual.
chew on ice.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Oh, all the
There,
time.
see, now we've correlated. No sprinkles.
Correlated.
No,
A population of 4 for this study.
first of all, and
The correlation is real. Enough.
I'm not even gonna play the part that the men and the women here, but no ice chewing and no sprinkles. Down with the ice. Oh, and not just any ice. It's gotta be
The pebble ice.
the pebble ice.
small ice.
And good with the sprinkles because the texture. So see there. And so that's what
These are niche products that we're talking about. These are niche answers and minority answers. These products are going to be.
we are all on
These products are in the minority, but to be honest with you, people think that these are weird products. They actually perform better, meaning that people don't go underwater. People don't stop making payments. They foreclose. People don't do those with these products because a lot of these products do require a slightly higher down payment, but it's going to give you some really good options for what you can be able to do. Bank statement loans, foreign national loans, doctor loans, jumbo loans, 203K loans. There's a lot of different things you can do when it comes to, I may have this weird situation that happened to where this lender said I couldn't get a loan, conventional FHA, but I have some down payment saved up. Maybe I can do one of these different loans.
you said A and H, but that was the loan that came out last year because of Hurricane Ian. So that's also
There's a lot of the products like that.
yeah. So they're just loans that are not for the status quo.
Tanya, you're gonna be some on these deals. What's your vibe?
Oh, I like them. It helps my the bank statement loans, the one that I like. It helps my self-employed borrowers.
Got it. Yeah. We know you write everything off, self-employed people. We know the deal.
We're status quo W-2, right? We have to go to 1040A. But I think that's great, that you tackled on brokered loans so early on in your career, because you're not afraid of them, and you had to navigate brokers already. And when we mean brokers, that we have our direct lending products, but we also have, these are considered our brokered products that we do work with other investors because they are able to offer, just different conditions that the buyer can afford to buy a home.
Correct. Cool. Anything about these, Austin? Any questions?
Just I appreciate y'all's experience and your assistance.
You have a brokered loan too right now.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a brokered one
It's
too.
been fun.
Yeah.
The main difference is we don't have control over these loans. So when I tell you everything's so great about our company when it comes to, we have ourselves as loan originators. We're pretty, loan underwriters, processors. We have each other as well. We have a lot of things going for us when we're actually funding the deal, and we fund, meaning we actually give the money up for FHA bank statements, not banks, kind of FHA conventional VA, your normal loans. We're funding those.
Yeah.
We're still helping out with processing and some of the underwriting for those loans, but someone else is giving the money for them. Which the more they're giving the money, the more it's their process, the more they're underwriters, the less control that we have in the process.
And manual underwriting. And not because I didn't know this before, but it just didn't become such a prevalent thing. But that's a big deal for some people, manual underwriting, to be able to have loans done that way. So.
FHA, once again, a good loan.
Yeah.
All right, homestead needs to be filed by March 1st in Florida. We're a little bit past that date, but if you haven't filed for homestead, you bought a home last year,
Still do it.
Still try to do it. Trust me. They receive applications in the many counties up until April, etc. Don't wait until then because it's county to county. And in your county, they could be like, we're hard closed for March 1st if you're in Florida. But definitely speak to someone about that. And that's only just for homestead. If you have chickens, if you have fruit trees that are potentially for commercial purpose, you can get agricultural exemption for your property, which can significantly lower your property taxes. So be savvy.
And all that is going back into savings on your monthly payment.
You got it. Be savvy after you got into the home. Don't try to be savvy before you get into the home. Once you're savvy before you get in the home, you'll probably never get into it. Self-employed, if you plan to purchase a home this year, get us a draft copy of your taxes before you officially file them to make sure you can qualify for a home refinance. Do this. It does not have to be sent to the IRS yet. Just send it over to us and we can be able to run those numbers for you. Also with tax returns, if you plan to purchase a home or refinance this year, don't spend that tax return money until you've spoken to one of us as a lender. We may advise for it to go towards down payment. We may advise for it to go towards paying off a car or a credit card, or we may just say, hey, hold on to that money. You might want to use that for savings, maybe potential remodel after you purchase. We are financial advisors over here, not officially, but we have to play that game in order to get the majority of our buyers into homes for the first time. So don't use that money until you've spoken to us. Final thoughts. We're at the end, fam. Tanya, we've talked about a lot of different things. We talked about credit. We talked about mortgages. We talked about real estate. We talked about mobile homes. We talked about different niche products. We talked about sprinkles, pink trash. Where's your head at? What do you think?
I think March's it's a good month and we're heading in a better direction. I feel like in springtime, I think we're gonna be doing good.
Cool. We'll see. Austin, wherever you're at. Final thoughts.
Yeah, you're right. We covered a lot. Next week or next month, I want to ask you more questions about the appraisal side. But
dude, just ask the questions right now, bro.
We're gonna hold them up to that.
There are people who want to know about this.
What question you have, Austin?
Yeah.
no, I just say
Nice guy in the back.
I just wanted to
Mr.
thank you
Midwest.
guys again for all your help on this program.
Austin, give me the first question at the top of your head by the appraiser side. I'm doing a lot of appraisal work. I'm doing a lot of different work. I'm doing lending, doing appraisal work, and I'm also doing some construction stuff too, bookkeeping. I'm all over the place. But go ahead.
No, I'll ask next time. It's fine.
Austin, give me one question.
It was a relatively longer question, generally about your process and how to, I guess, the buyer prepare for that.
Yeah, so my process right now, what I'm doing appraising is you have fee appraising, which is the appraisers you normally think about. They're only doing a few of these a month, and they're going out for a specific deal, and they're trying to make the value match up for whatever you guys have out there. So you're under contract for $250,000 purchase price. They go out and inspect the property, but in general, they're trying to work with banks, the agents, etc., to find a value to meet that amount. They never purposely try to come low on a purchase price. They're always trying to find values that could potentially support being in the $250,000. Because once the big thing with appraising it's called an opinion of value. It's not what the value is. If you have 100 homes that sold within the last 3 months, they're all within a couple of mile radius, it's going to be the appraiser's opinion on which homes are better comparables. Now we have processes and we have, different systems, but we all have this general knowledge of this is considered better, this is considered better home, better comparables, what's important when it comes to evaluation. We all go through classes and things of that nature, and it takes a long time to be able to get a license as well. So there are industry standards towards it, but it's always an opinion of what the value is. So that's a fee appraising. I actually deal a lot mostly with the county, where I'm looking at, instead of going to actually visit a property and I'm on the commercial side, I'm looking at maps a majority of the time. And through 3-4 different maps, I'm zooming in the properties, I'm measuring different things on these properties. I'm looking at a property versus January versus March versus last year versus 2016 versus 2010, seeing how different things on the property. Does this property have retention? Does it not have retention? I'm looking at a ton of different items when it comes to a property, but I'm looking at it from a maps perspective rather than a real estate appraiser. And we have people who will actually go out there and measure too if we need them to. They're the field appraisers. But in general, I'm trying to do them. You can't go out there and physically visit every single last property every single last year and measure them all. Otherwise, the entire county will be broke because the amount of taxes we would need to be able to get appraisers in.
Yeah.
So that's the game I mainly play. But also, if someone has this big piece of land and want to split it up, I'll also help reevaluate that. But that's mainly my game, is evaluating properties, land, commercial situations when it comes to a big mass scale.
I have a question then. I mean, we're not gonna, I mean,
Go ahead, Gabriela.
So, because you're dealing with the map section, like the maps as part of the appraisal, like you're in your niche, I'm not gonna drop it again. You're more aware of like the zoning changes.
I look at zoning 1,000 times a day. I'm looking at the different zip codes 1,000 times a day. I'm looking at the difference in values on this road versus that road versus this road 1,000 times a day. So my knowledge when it comes to zoning, zip codes, values, all those things are a world from where they were a year ago.
So it's changed.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. People don't understand that when it comes to value of property, first off, acreage, location, where it's located is going to be very important. That's going to be one of the most important things. And then it's going to be your acreage. Are we talking about a 0.5 acre lot? Or are we talking about a 5 acre lot? Because a smaller lot, normally the value is going to be much higher than a lot's going to be a lot bigger. If a lot gets to the point where if it's undeveloped, there's just trees and whatnot, when we're talking about 5 acres plus, it could easily be $2 a square foot and even less than that. If we're talking about a property that is, 1 to 3 acres, but instead of it being all trees, which you don't know if there's water underneath the trees, you don't really know what's happening there, but it's pavement, so it's slightly developed. You could be, depending on the zone, it could be $10 a square foot, $15 a square foot, $20 a square foot. The best zones, the ones that go for the highest value, this is where it comes to zoning changes. You can increase the value just by changing the zoning of a property. Something that is considered PUD, which is a planned unit development, those are going to always be the highest by far. And the majority of counties have some form of that, whether it's PUD, activity center. It's going to be something that encompasses. You can do a lot of different things in those zones, and that's why they're the most valuable. Then it's going to come down to probably about commercial. Because commercial, you can do a lot of things, even if it's 0.5 acres, 3 acres, 10 acres. You can do a lot of things in there. Industrial down here. And then residential properties, they're some of the most valuable when it comes to around 0.5 to 1 acres. But as soon as you get to 2 acre lots for residential, it falls off heavily. Okay. So zoning matters a ton when it comes to the value of a property. And, people change those zonings to be able to fit. But the goal is not to change the zoning because that takes a lot of process. Mm-hmm. The goal is to try to fit what you're trying to do underneath the current zoning that you have.
Which is what we, the builder part of it, like, in hopes in the future zoning is a little bit, it's reevaluated and changed so that builders can build more in the future. So,
got it.
Okay.
Awesome. Great final question. Great final thought. Tanya,
thank you.
What's up? You did.
You did my final.
You did your final?
Yes.
Great job. Proud of you. Gabriela.
I've said enough, and just even asking that question about zoning, because now that that's been brought up from our sales weekend, now that's kind of like, if we can't, if we need to build out, if we have to build up. So how does that, because that's just a whole other world.
I'll say this right now, partner with a zoning map company. There's a lot of map companies that are out there. I had no idea, and this is really making me excited looking at all these maps all the time. But Redfin now has a feature where if you go on there and you scroll all the way down, it'll tell you the zoning of your actual house, whatever you're looking for. And it'll tell you what you can do in that zoning in a very simplified nature. It'll say, yes, you can do this. Yes, you can do that. No, you cannot do that, etc. Because to be honest, to figure out how zoning works for your area, you have to find out, first off, what municipality you're in, whether you're in Orange County, whether you're in Orlando, the city of Orlando, whether you're in the city of West Orange, the city of Tampa. You got to figure that out. Then you got to go to a site called MuniCode, which honestly is like a law. It looks like a law site to where you have all these different sections, and it can get very confusing very quickly. But if you go on Redfin.com or you get a Redfin app, you scroll down to zoning, it'll easily tell you the different things you can do in that zoning.
Especially if you want to have chickens, if you want to have a garden. I mean, that's
Or you just ask me. If you just ask me, that I'll look it up for you. I'll find that.
So if you need to ask questions about zoning in Florida or in the certain areas, not just for lending, but zoning now, you can ask them.
Better call John. Better call Saul.
It's like, oh, hey, when that's something really nice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there you go.
Good overall.
Great.
You got it.
As always, think
Well,
we're
hey.
putting it together and making it look really closely.
You all showed up, Miss Producer. I appreciate you coming out here. Yeah. Tanya showed up. She almost overslept. She almost pulled a no-go, but she's here. I 1000% appreciate Tanya being here right now. Because if I was in her situation, I may be calling in. Austin showing up, always asking the questions. I need more questions. I know he has 1,000 questions. I'm gonna have him start writing them down and just put them next to me. That's what he's got all the news. Look at him. Come over, making fun of him. Think he's like texting his mom or something.
That's his phone. Hey, they're
These young kids, they're school uniform on in their bag, making notes.
Chat GPT questions you're generating there for him.
Doing the most. Well, hey, I appreciate you all. Thanks for listening as well. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to us. If you need mortgage questions, we need to run a scenario, or you want to be able to get pre-approved, I'll have the information in the chats. Otherwise, you all have a great rest of your day. Bye. Bye.